should be free to exercise their faith without hindrance from the government.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
Welcome to Today's Issues. Join us for the next hour as we offer a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Ed Vitagliano.
And welcome to Today's Issues. Ed Vitagliano sitting in for Tim Wildman this week. I am joined in studio by Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning. I hadn't got to my coffee yet, but when I get it
Not
in.
yet? Because you were in a meeting, I know.
That's right. We go back and forth for meetings. But if I start off slow, I will pick up steam. Just hang in there.
You will. And at least we don't have to worry about you choking on popcorn.
That's true. That's true. Dad usually once a week does the choking of the not the coffee, choking of the popcorn there.
Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Good morning, both.
Now, folks, if you are watching the video, I think I have not said all week long, you can watch the live video stream of this show. I might as well tell you because this is what Tim has me do every day.
Yeah.
You can watch the live video stream of this program in a variety of ways. You can go to Facebook and you can search for Today's Issues. You can go to YouTube and search for Today's Issues Live. You can go to our own streaming platform, stream.afa.net. Or you can go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and search for American Family Radio, and you can see the live video stream. There's a reason why I mention it. Fred is wearing the least Canadian thing he could find in his closet.
That's true.
It is.
That's the best way to describe it.
It is like Luau Day here at AFA.
Yes, it is.
Dress code wise.
Yes.
So I wore I guess it's like a Hawaiian shirt, but it's blue and black. My two favorite colors.
That's right.
But Fred has just a colorful shirt.
Well, Steve Jordahl has been busy this week covering the Southern Baptist Convention, so he is not here to represent Crazy Shirt Day.
Yes.
So
you did a fine job.
Yeah, we had a note from our Human Resources Department yesterday. We're cooking hot dogs here on the campus today, and they said, kind of treat it as a luau day, and I thought that's a good idea. Beautiful day out there, and also, quite frankly, a little bit of melancholy.
Yeah.
There's only 8 days left before the longest day of the year.
Oh, that's right.
And then the days start getting shorter again.
Oh, why did you bring me
That
down,
up.
Fred? Man.
I just...
Well, you can look at it the other way. We still got how many days?
Yes. We have 8 days.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also joining us remotely from Kansas City, Kansas is Dr. Ray Pritchard. Good morning to you, Ray.
Holding down my side of the bargain with a very boring dark blue polo shirt.
You couldn't get more plain.
There's nothing there.
This is completely boring today.
Listen, about 2 years ago, I got a bunch of Hawaiian shirt kind of things because after COVID, we relaxed the dress code a little bit here. Tim jokingly says we relaxed it too much. As far as he can tell, we can wear anything except for pajamas. That's what he says. I just know that everybody, so we don't have to tuck our shirts, and we can wear the shirts that are outside the pants.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I got these kind of Hawaiian shirts, and of course, last year my wife said no more of those. And I do have some brightly colored ones, but it's hard for me to wear bright colored clothing. I just always want to wear dark, black,
neutral,
black, blue, or gray. So this is one of my favorite shirts that I'm wearing.
Okay, I can't tell on the feed. Is your shirt tucked in or
no, sir? I tucked my shirt in all this week. Today it's luau day. I'm going crazy.
So
you're living on the edge.
Living on the edge.
So I confuse people sometimes because I'm very. You got to be 5 minutes early or you're late.
Right.
Very punctual, very professional, all business. But I was the first to support audibly the what do you call it, change in dress code? More casual, that's what I'm looking for. More casual approach to that. If I could get away with it, I would wear Crocs to church. But my wife would not allow me to do that.
Glad Chelsea's on the ball.
Yeah, Chelsea is she's my conscience when it comes to what I wear. I'd wear gym shorts everywhere. So,
but we could get off. Dress code at church sure has changed.
Oh, it changed a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Quite a bit.
Sure has changed since I was a kid.
Yes.
When I wasn't going to church.
Yeah, that's right.
We never went to church, so I don't even know. So when you were growing up, Fred,
When
'cause
I was growing up in the 60s and the 70s, for men especially, colored shirts, forget about it.
white shirt
And it was
only.
always white shirt and tie.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, wow.
and either dark suits or gray suits.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
So men wore suits to church when you were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh man,
In
Oh,
the,
yes.
I'm glad I got saved later in life. Let's be honest.
in the the early 90s when I was raised and going to church, it was all khakis and polos.
Yeah. Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Khakis and polo. Now, I mean, like, blue jeans and the collar shirt will work.
Yeah.
Well, for most churches. I don't know. Well, I say that it's changed a lot in a lot of churches, but you still have
Right.
what you're describing in some
Some
churches.
churches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some.
Hey, let me just mention my side of the problem because I do a lot of guest speaking around the country.
Yeah.
And it's a real problem if you're a guest speaker going to a church you've never been to, Wesley.
that's right.
And you don't know. And they'll say, wear whatever you want. And I
Sure,
go,
but then-
no.
No, and that's
no.
not what I need. Yes, I
No.
need
I
specifics.
I need some guidance.
Tell me what you want.
This
right?
is in this case, I need you to tell me what you want. Yes.
Because
Specifically.
we know, Ray, there are people in church who are not going to get past what you're wearing.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
I mean, that's sad, but that is true about
It is
human
true.
nature.
Yeah.
They're going to say,
You know,
why am I
if you-
listening to this guy? He doesn't have a suit and tie on.
Yes.
If they want me
why
to
am
go
I
business
listening to-
casual, tell me, right?
Yes.
Or, and in fact, next month I'm speaking at a church in North Carolina, and they were kind enough to tell me that it's one of the rare suit and tie churches that's left in America.
Wow.
And hey, that's cool with me.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you expect. So I won't be wearing my Hawaiian luau shirt, Fred.
Y'all need to hear this one. I'll do it in 1 minute. I travel a lot
Yeah.
with and meet supporters, right?
Yeah.
So and again, khakis and a polo is sufficient, I believe. What I would wear to work.
Right.
So did that. Went down to. I ended up doing, instead of khakis, I did a really nice, visually looked nice blue jeans and an AFA collared polo with
Yeah.
their logo on there.
Right.
I wore that to an event, which is like a town hall event. I had one lady come up, and probably in her 60s or 70s, and in a very constructive but very rebuking way, said that I did not represent well with what I was wearing. Okay, and I said, I received that. Thank you for letting me know. I will take that into consideration next time.
Yeah.
The very next evening. I was trying to knock out a handful of events
Right.
while I was gone. Next evening, I was in a different location, 6 hours north of where I was.
Yeah.
I went from Baton Rouge to West Monroe. Next evening, I was in Baton Rouge, so it was north or south. At that event, I had a guy come in about 20 minutes late and borderline looked homeless.
Right.
He was a supporter, listener of ours. And he comes in a few minutes, about 20 minutes late, comes in the back. We've already started. I've already done my part.
Yeah.
And so I see him walking up, so I'll go over there, hey, introduce myself and say, hey, I'll help you find a seat. And the very thing he said to me was, he said, well, I'm glad that I'm not overdressed, and I'm glad what you're wearing because I feel comfortable. What do you do?
So let me see if I got this straight. The guy that you said looked borderline homeless.
Yes. That's what
Said,
I see where you're
I
going.
approve of
Yes.
what you're wearing. Wesley."
I see where you're going. Yeah. But,
Listen, in events like that, you can't make
cultures.
everybody happy.
Yeah.
And you do the best
But
you can.
I like Ray's option. If you know where you're going and you got somebody that's coordinating it, ask them.
Yes.
Yeah, I like
As you
that.
get someone to blame,
Yeah.
always. This is what so-and-so told me to wear. All right. We need to move to some hard news, and boy, we've got some.
Yeah, a unanimous decision from the United States Supreme Court this morning basically saying that the nation, our drugstores, et cetera, can continue to use the abortion drug mifepristone. And
Prestone.
mifepristone, yes. And it was a case that Alliance Defending Freedom, representing a group of pro-life doctors, went to court. just to put it in context, this drug is used in about 2/3 of the abortions in this country.
Good gracious.
To put it very briefly, the Supreme Court decision, it was written for the unanimous decision by Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He had some interesting things to say. And the bottom line, he said these particular group of plaintiffs did not have the standing necessary to put a ruling out there that said, no, mifepristone is a dangerous drug. And even though, as Alliance Defending Freedom notes, that the drug companies, even because they have to put warnings out there, that some women who use this can end up in the emergency room. But they said this particular group could not prove that they, in particular, were negatively impacted by the sale of this drug. So I wanted to read a little bit about what Justice Kavanaugh had to say here. He says the plaintiffs may present their concerns and objectives to the President and the FDA in the regulatory process, or to Congress and the President in the legislative process. And they may also express their views about abortion and mifepristone to fellow citizens, including the political and electoral processes. And he also said, we respect your views, your pro-life views on abortion, but we could not justify, by you simply saying you're against the drug, we could not rule in your favor. So, unanimous decision. I was listening to a little bit of the other legal reaction to this before coming into the studio this morning. Andrew McCarthy was one of the legal experts on Fox. He put it this way: it would take a woman who was seriously impacted by the use of this drug to go to the Supreme Court and say the FDA was wrong in approving this for the general use of the population. Look what happened to me. And in that case, that is a person definitely negatively impacted by this drug. That person would have greater standing. Now, the ADF disagrees with the decision today. They say they're obviously very disappointed in the decision. They say nothing in today's decision changes the fact that the FDA's own label says that roughly 1 in 25 women who take chemical abortion drugs will end up in the emergency room. So, unanimous decision today against taking mifepristone off the shelf, as it were. However, the door is still open for this drug to be appealed directly, as Justice Kavanaugh said, to the FDA. For instance, if you had a change in government in November,
right?
You had a different president, a different group of people at the FDA. They could say, we now have enough evidence that this has negative impact on some people, and we're going to take it off the market. So the fight isn't over, but today it was simply a case of the court saying this group who brought this case cannot prove to us that it negatively affects them directly.
Did you say mifepristone is what percentage did you say of abortions in this country are from these abortion inducing drugs?
Yes, according to the Associated Press, nearly 2/3 of all abortions in the U.S. last year were the result of these kinds of medication.
I would imagine that's increased since the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there are other issues too. There are attempts in some states to stop the cross-border shipping of this, because there are states that now have very strict abortion rules. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's being fought is the transportation of these drugs across state lines.
Right.
So there are a number of cases going on right now.
You know, Ray, this is the difference. I'm not trying to over-spiritualize this, but this is the difference between an abuse of moral law, talking about like the Old Testament law, and the power of the necessity of the power of the gospel to change hearts. Because if you want to kill your baby in 2024,
Yeah.
there are people who will find a way to help you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And these kinds of abortion-inducing drugs are an example of that. This battle ultimately is, I mean, we need to keep fighting it in the legal arena, but ultimately this battle, like the battle against slavery, this battle is not going to be won simply by laws, because people are going to find a way to do what they want to do. And hearts have to change before people, a large majority of people in this country, adopt a pro-life view.
Well, you're absolutely right, Ed. And nothing could go more to the heart of the gospel than this, that the eyes of the heart are darkened until they are opened by the Lord. People are spiritually dead until God gives them life. So we shouldn't be surprised that lost people who are alienated from God, who do not understand what God has said, who are spiritually dead, we shouldn't be surprised that they turn to abortion and they raise it almost to the level of a sacrament. So one part of the battle is what we try to do here at AFR, is to preach the gospel. We have Bible teaching programs, and we are in favor of preaching the life-changing power of a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Having said that, Ed, there's the other part. We're going to fight. We're going to fight hard with the Alliance Defending Freedom and other great organizations. We're going to fight for the unborn, because nothing could be clearer, right? Could be clearer that a society that kills its unborn is destroying its own future. Right. It's under the judgment of God. So amen to both sides. Let's preach the gospel, let's change hearts, and let's fight in the political arena to get some pro-life judges and pro-life people in the House and the Congress and in the White House. That's one way to make a big difference.
And, you know, Wesley, I did mention the battle against slavery. People like William Wilberforce in the British Empire, the abolitionists here in this country. It took a lot of work, a lot of political work, as well as God moving on the hearts of people. The civil rights movement in this country, where people in other parts of the country didn't care what was going on in the Jim Crow South until their consciences were pricked by the images they saw on television, and then laws were changed. There really is, I don't think there is any excuse for Christians separating the spiritual from the physical in terms of protecting, in this case, unborn children.
Yeah, we're 100% compelled by the gospel to both advocate for life, both with an individual person who is considered not, also advocating for laws that would eliminate all abortions across the board. And the gospel compels us to do that, and we do that here at AFA and AFR. You know, just to mention a project that we've worked on, Activate, in the Activate course that will be released at the end of the month, the training course, we have a section in there based on our core values at AFA called pro-life, and in that we do all three, or we do several things, one of which we advocate for how to legislate for life. We also how to biblically explain life, and also how we can help people in difficult situations, how we can come alongside them and serve them with our finances, with our time. Those people who are having pregnancies that are unplanned, how we can come along them, and we also advocate for adoption. So, I mean, go ahead.
Let's sit there for just a second.
Sure.
Explain. You mentioned Activate. This is a huge project that we are about to release here at the end of this month. Why don't you just explain a little bit about that, and let's point people to where they can get this kind of advanced training, because that's what it is.
Yes, we have a 18 powerful session training course, and out of those 18 sessions, a portion of those, I believe it's 5 or 6, are dedicated to the life issue and covering the areas in which I just mentioned. And so within the course, the reason it's called Activate is because not only are we training you through video content, we're expecting you to follow the workbook as well. And in the workbook, there's several challenges that you have to complete in order to finish the training course, and part of the Activate side of it is going out and serving at your pro-life pregnancy centers. Also, finding ways to get involved, get your church involved in providing certain needs for single moms, whether that be diapers or whether that be formula. And so there's several ways in which we provide you just the beginning stages of getting involved and helping and changing the life. Also, too, we have a section in there of apologetics and walking us through how we can advocate for life from an apologetic standpoint, obviously using the scriptures and both science and logic as well. So we are really excited about that. And with this type of seemingly or fairly new areas in the abortion clinic or in the abortion discussion, the appeals, that's a new discussion, or fairly new. Most people, when they think of abortion, most people think of going to a clinic and having the baby disassembled or anything like that. So we covered the pills as well in Activate course. So I'm really excited about it, looking forward to it. And
where can folks go to get information?
That's a good question. Activate.afa.net, activate.afa.net. You can go there. If you put your email in, you'll be the first to hear about it. We're going to launch it to those that sign up on the website about a week early, and then July 1st we'll launch it to everyone. So,
all right. By the way, this was Wesley's kind of dream, his vision for this was, I think, because you during some of these events with donors, kind of these town hall kind of things, and people said, hey, listen, we need training.
The same ones that told me I needed to be wearing a suit. No, I'm kidding. I love our supporters. Yeah, we got a lot of feedback over the last 10 years about is there any way that AFA can take the things that we're talking about right now on the radio, like the Supreme Court decision. Can you take these types of issues and find a way to train us in this and how to respond and how to answer this, both from a political standpoint, but also from a one-on-one standpoint, an individual standpoint, and we're able to accomplish that through the Project Activate.
Who are some of the people that speak in these sessions?
Yes, sir. So we have, again, there's 5 areas. We cover biblical authority and how it's a foundation for all things. Then we cover the life issue. We cover marriage and family, religious liberty, and stewardship are the other 4 areas that we cover. So some of the people that you'll hear on there will be Rick Green, religious liberty, Scott Klusendorf on the life issue, Rob West on stewardship, Joseph Parker also on the life issue, Abraham Hamilton, he's on as it relates to marriage and family, and Stephen McDowell as it relates to stewardship. So these are just some of the names that have participated.
There's a bunch of them, folks.
Bunch of people.
And there is going to be, I know we're kind of spending some time on this, but you mentioned it, and we are coming up to the release date for Activate.
That's right.
There's even like a graduation too, right?
That's right. When they complete the course, when they complete the training course, we'll have a graduation, one in the spring, one in the fall, and you'll be able to meet some of the professors, and we'll have an official certificate and a day of celebration for your graduation. The reason I mention this is because these issues that we're going to continue to cover today, we also cover through Activate course, and we teach you how to articulate our position from a biblical and a logical and a common sense standpoint.
And if you graduate, you also get a Fred Jackson Hawaiian luau replica shirt.
Right, with the logo Activate on there.
Well, folks, I know we took a little extra time on that, but when Wesley mentioned Activate, this is really a key project for us. You're going to be hearing a lot about it in the months to come. This is an answer to really the passionate requests of a lot of people who support AFA, who do not feel like they know enough of the foundational ideas to be able to interact with other people and represent Christ and represent a biblical perspective on these critical issues facing us today. So, all right, when we come back, we are going to have Riley Wildman and Jenna Ellis more directly ahead. Please join us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed, and broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. The area of Tabgha, located between Capernaum and Magdala on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, is a very historic area, for it was here, according to tradition, where Jesus fed the 5,000 men plus additional women and children. Here also he fed the disciples following his resurrection. Tabgha gets its name from the corruption of a Greek word which means 7 springs. At Tabgha in 1932, the ruins of an ancient church were discovered. Today, another structure, known as the Church of the Multiplication, stands over the ruins. The floor of that ancient church, dating at least back to the 4th century, contains mosaics which are renowned throughout the world for their beauty and realism. They depict the water birds and flowers of the area and symbols of the 5 loaves and 2 fish of the miracle. This miracle of Jesus, the feeding of the 5,000, was considered an impressive event by the early church. Incidentally, it is the only miracle mentioned in all 4 Gospels in the New Testament. It is John who tells us of the young boy which Andrew brought to Christ, and how Christ used the lad's 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed the multitude. After the feeding, each disciple filled his basket with the food that was left over. Near the Church of the Multiplication is the Church of the Primacy. It's located on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. It's built on the spot where tradition says Jesus is supposed to have fed Peter and the 6 other disciples after a night of fruitless fishing. The structure is built over a rock which today is known as the Table of Christ. Tradition says it is the rock used by Jesus to eat the morning meal of fish with his followers. It was here that Jesus gave to Peter the 3-fold repetition symbolic of a legal transfer. Feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Feed my sheep. Jesus was giving the responsibility of his church to Peter and the others. The Church of the Primacy is a lovely little structure. Waves from the Sea of Galilee splash beneath it. The area around it is lovely and peaceful, a probable contrast from the biblical days when this area was teeming with people and commerce. 2 great truths come out of the events which came to pass in this area. In the case of the multiplication of the loaves and fish, the truth is that little, when given to him who is the Creator, can be transformed into a lot. The young boy willing to share the lunch which his mother packed for him found this to be true. The other truth concerns the disciples. They discovered that Jesus can be completely trusted. Following his directions, despite having caught nothing during an entire night of fishing, they cast where he told them and caught 153 fish. We must never forget that they cast their nets in sheer faith. As one stands here in this area, his thoughts are varied, but one wish stands out, that these 2 great truths can perhaps come alive again in us, even today.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah 29, verse 13.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
And welcome back. Ed Vitagliano sitting in for Tim Wildman this week. I am joined by Wesley Wildman, Fred Jackson from Kansas City, Kansas, Ray Pritchard, and now Wildman number 2, Riley Wildman, director of the AFA Foundation. Good morning to you, Riley.
Good morning.
And who you got there?
I got Emerson Ann right here with
Emerson
me today.
Ann is in the studio. We're not going to put her on the radio,
No.
but she is kind of accompanying her mom today. So.
That's right.
All right, Riley, what's up? I'm not even sure why we have you on today.
Well, Walker and Wesley and Tim, my dad, said, hey, once a month, why don't you and Chelsea rotate
There we go.
and have either she or I on every month on all of our programs just to
Good.
talk
Give
about
recipes.
good.
Oh, that's
Wesley.
No, just
I'm just kidding.
Are you saying because she's
I
a
can't
woman, she's on to discuss recipes?
Golly,
You didn't say that when Chelsea was on.
No, I didn't. Well, there's a reason for that too. No, we talked about this. We have a foundation, a charitable gift annuity that we offer, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Well, that's why we had Wesley on, Riley on to
There
talk
you
about
go.
it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Riley.
So okay, well, here we go. Well, yeah, so the foundation is just a ministry, or a division, so to speak, of the AFA, American Family Association, American Family Radio, that just exists for our supporters to, like Wesley said, fund a charitable gift annuity that I can kind of give you a brief overview about that, and stock and wills. So just about the charitable gift annuity real quick, tell our listeners how that works is they fund a gift to the ministry. It can be a minimum amount of $2,000 or anything above that, and it can be set up as a single life or a joint life. And then when they pass away, anything left over is a gift back to the ministry. So it's just a great tool that we have, that in our ministry we have over 500 or 600 annuitants in the foundation, and so it's a great strong tool that we have
And,
for the
and while
foundation.
they're alive, they get
Correct.
a
Permanent
monthly.
Yes,
payment.
income. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. So they get a monthly payment to them, as well as a partial tax deduction as well. So that is a great tool, as well as a stock. We also offer stock donations. They can just give an outright gift of stock to the ministry and receive a full 100% tax deduction, or they can use the stock as a donation to the ministry and fund that through a charitable gift annuity. So those are two of our great tools in the foundation.
Yeah,
Wesley.
Well, hey, nicely. I had nothing to add. She couldn't have done it any better. Nothing to add. Hey, seriously though, a lot of times the reason we have her on is because you have to almost be in that. Well, you have to be in that season of life. It's not for everyone. It's very specific,
Right.
And to what the purpose of the charitable gift annuity. So, by not talking about it and assuming people are going to know about it or find it, people are missing out, because there are a lot of our supporters. When they hit that season and they're
Right.
in that very specific moment, being reminded about this as being an option is something that we want to keep in the front minds of our listening and our listeners and our supporters, because it's a win-win.
Right.
Everyone wins in a charitable gift annuity if that's something that you can financially can afford to do.
Right.
And there's a minimum.
Yes, 2,000.
Okay. Did you say that already?
I did.
Okay, sorry, I
Where
wasn't
were
listening.
you?
That should have been
Well,
listening.
you shouldn't have been on this page
Hey,
here.
Brad.
Yeah, I know.
On this page looking
Clicking
for
around.
recipes. I don't know what the deal is there, but
Y'all have too much fun on this show here.
I just had a quick question.
Works
Wesley, you mentioned season of life. So is there a minimum age?
No, sir, there's not
Oh.
a minimum age.
Okay.
We have people do it as young as 50, 55.
Okay.
And then we have people call us when they're 75 and say, I want to start setting up a charitable gift annuity. And at that time, at 75, they, of course, start receiving their immediate payments then.
so
Yes,
at
sir.
age 75 is when you start getting the payments?
You could. Yes, sir.
Oh,
People
okay.
do that. Yes, sir.
And some
Go
people,
ahead.
but you could also do it sooner too.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
But the
we do-
longer you defer it, the longer you wait, the larger the income, obviously.
Correct. That is correct.
Oh, I see. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I listen to.
You do.
Okay.
Oh, you do.
My
You've-
wife Chelsea helps out. She also works in the foundation department with Riley. They work hand in hand with another lady here on staff called her name's Jessica. The three of them oversee the foundation department. They do a wonderful job. How can they, if there was just one person, there's probably more, but they're interested in getting some numbers and y'all running a sample and getting more information
Yes.
on the charitable gift annuity or other areas, how can they do so?
Yes, so there's a few ways that they can do. They can, of course, give us a call directly. That number is 800-326-4543. Again, that's
Okay.
800-326-4543, and our extension is 345. or they can also visit our website at afafoundation.net. That's afafoundation.net. And Wesley, they can run illustrations on our website as well.
Can.
Yes, they
Now,
sure can.
what does that mean? That means they can
plug in their information. They can put in their name, their date of birth, and put in $2,000, for example, or they can put in $10,000, and it'll run and show a calculation on the website of what their rate of return would be and how much they would receive back each year.
Oh,
so
excellent.
Is that fairly new?
No, that's on our website.
Well, I know, but how long have y'all offered that as an option? Because I didn't even know. I didn't know that.
For at least, let's see, I've been here for 12, 13 years, so at least 13 years.
Well, I thought that y'all. Well, hold on just a
No, I'm not being ugly.
I just stopped
I'm just being.
I thought the whole reason that they called you is because there was a time in which y'all did it yourselves. But you're saying that they've always had access to be able to do that themselves?
They have. But yes, that is correct.
Some
people don't have access to their computer, so we offer that phone number for us to run the illustration over the phone, okay?
Right.
And then they can also visit our website and rent illustrations and contact Rob and the staff here.
Gotcha.
And we'll be glad to talk with them if they have a complicated situation. Wesley, we'll be glad to talk to them that way.
I know those kinds of calculators have been online for many, many years, Wesley. I go when I try to calculate how quickly I can lose weight according to how many pieces of pizza I have to cut out of my diet. And it's kind of a sliding scale. It helps quite a bit.
But something new, Wesley.
Yeah.
Wesley
give me
is
something new.
Okay. Give you something new. Is Facebook.
Okay.
We are on Facebook now. AFA Foundation is on Facebook.
Facebook's not new, but y'all being on Facebook.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, now correct me. All right, Ray. and then we also have LinkedIn.
That's
LinkedIn.
good.
Yeah, anyway, we're on both of those platforms.
Y'all got on those platforms here in the last year or so because you're trying to do what we're doing here, and that's to make people more aware of the opportunity to do a charitable giving duty. Well, I'm seeing here on the website you weren't telling a fib. You can go on there right now at afafoundation.net, and you can run your illustration there. The reason I didn't realize this is because when I went with Chelsea, she'll take phone calls and she'll get on her phone and she'll run illustrations. So
yes, and that's the same calculator. We have an app on our phone that's called Crescendo, the software that we use, and they can do it on our website or we can do it on our phone and give the same information that they can receive on their website.
Wow.
Our website, the same information we give over the phone.
All right. Well, Riley, give once again the contact information, the website, and then the phone number. The phone number, by the way, is just the regular phone number to get to AFA.
Correct.
But the extension is.
And this isn't, from my knowledge, this is an iPhone, correct?
Yes, it is. They're brand new, Wesley.
They're brand new.
All right. So that contact information is, of course, 800-326-4543, extension 345, or they can visit our website at afafoundation.net.
All right. Thank you,
Nicely
Riley.
done.
Good job,
Absolutely.
Riley.
I thoroughly respect the skills and abilities you bring to AFA.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
you're
to
a real
tolerate
gift.
me.
You're a real gift to the ministry.
And the
Thank
help
y'all.
you are to Wesley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
That's
much.
important. You got to keep him in line.
I told you I was going to take at least a couple of cups of coffee for you. By the time the show's over, I'll finally be clicking on all cylinders. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Y'all.
Thank you, Riley. All right. Hey, listen, now we're talking about seasons of life. I want to take this opportunity. My wife is driving. She may be listening to the show. Want to wish her a happy anniversary. We've been married for 43 years today. Well, tonight at 6 o'clock will be 43 years. And so she's the love of my life, my best friend, and I do not insult her in public by talking about recipes and whatnot. But I've learned that lesson a long time ago. So,
well, that's awesome. Congratulations. 46 years.
43.
43. Sorry, I don't know where I got that.
Yeah, needs more
not
coffee.
Listening.
He needs more coffee, and you'll be right.
43 years. 43. That's
43.
great.
And Ed is bringing her to AFA to give her a hot dog for their anniversary.
Seriously,
hey,
that's this afternoon, isn't it?
No, it is. It's they're starting that at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So
Here-
most of the hot dogs will be gone by the time we get off the show.
Yeah.
but-
I'll see to that.
Well, yeah, exactly. What we're talking about, we're having an annual cookout here for lunch here on site, and so Fred's joking about the hot dogs we're about to cook here for our lunch cookout as Ed's anniversary date.
Yes.
But you know better.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not taking her. I'm not bringing her here for hot dogs for our anniversary. No way. So,
Do we have?
Oh, I was just going to say, cookout at home.
no, no. I mentioned what's that?
The rabbit.
The rabbit story. I'm not telling the rabbit story
Is
again.
Wesley aware of the rabbit story?
I am aware of it.
Okay.
I've never heard it.
You've never heard it. All right.
I've never
Okay. Should I tell this?
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No.
Ray, I'll tell you. I'll tell you off there. It's
Okay.
It's kind of gross.
Is it shocking?
It's
Not
shocking.
for Ed. Not if
for
you
me.
know Ed.
Not for Ed.
It might upset some of our listeners. Well, now their imaginations. Okay, I'll just
Okay, here
really
we
quickly.
go.
Go ahead.
Really quickly. So this is probably 10 years ago. We had a burn pile out in the yard, and we're out working in the yard on a Saturday. I'm burning the burn pile. My wife is working doing something. We're over here by our shed out in the yard, tool shed kind of thing, where we have our lawnmower or whatnot. And I'm a city boy. I did not know rabbits make these kinds of noises. I hear this screaming, and I turn around, and there is a rabbit on fire. People don't believe me when I say this. This rabbit was on fire, must have had its burrow in the burn pile. It comes out screaming. My wife is screaming, and all I had was a shovel. Okay, and I'm just going to tell you, I had to put the poor thing out of its misery.
Yeah.
I did, and plus I didn't want it going under the shed and setting the thing on fire.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
So I put it out of its misery with a shovel, and my wife to this day will not let me burn our burn pile.
Still.
We have another burn pile, and she says no. There's
Who
rabbits
knows
in
what's
there.
in there, right.
Yeah, no, there's rabbits in there. She said.
And AFA will soon be offering a video.
Listen, that would have gone viral. That's probably before viral videos. Now that we have told the rabbit story, we want to welcome Jenna Ellis to the show. She's host of Jenna Ellis in the Morning, heard on AFR, American Family Radio, at 7 a.m. Central Time. I don't know how this is going to go over with Jenna. She's kind of an animal lover. But anyway, Jenna, what do you think? Can you top that story?
I was about to hang up, Ed. I just was like, why would I contribute to this show when there's animal cruelty going on, and I have my two little puppies in the background just listening to this? But actually, your story on a more humorous note, I thought when you were saying on fire, you were kind of talking metaphorically like he was on fire, like we would say for Jesus, like he was on fire and he was like screaming because he was excited.
Unfortunately, this was literal.
Yeah, and it always reminds me of that meme that's so great that says, I want to be so full of Jesus that when a mosquito bites me, he runs away singing there is power in the blood.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes. Anyway, Fred just, for some reason, Fred loves when I tell that story, and he's always painting me into a corner and basically making me tell that story. I think you're the one with a problem, frankly. All right, since you started that, Fred, why don't you let's introduce the stories that we have Jenna on to talk about. We need her legal mind on this.
One of the great
not on animal cruelty.
No,
I'm just saying.
Something else.
No, we don't want to offend PETA too much.
No, that's right.
That's right.
We'll get canceled.
By the way, that was an accident.
Absolutely accidental.
Sure.
I was terrified. I was horrified. Let me just add to this. I'm not really adding to it. I am a sure enough city boy. I did not know rabbits made those kinds of noises. I thought my wife was on fire until I turned around. But
the question: would you have hit her with a shovel?
No, listen. I would have hugged her, and we both would have gone out the same way.
Well said, and happy anniversary. Yes. You'll still be married for another 40 some years with that answer. Okay. All right. Anyway.
Hey, listen, one of the great concerns among conservatives is that we have an election that we don't have concerns about voting practices. And a Michigan judge just ruled that the Democrat Secretary of State's election manual issued to local election officials is unconstitutional and violates state law. So, Janice, tell us about this.
Yeah, and I had Cleta Mitchell, who's actually an election integrity fellow with the Conservative Partnership Institute, on my program this morning to break this down. She's been following all of this a lot more closely than I have, and so for listeners, you can always go to afr.net, and that's about the last 12 minutes or so of my show, Jenna Ellis in the Morning, this morning. But basically, the bottom line is this judge actually followed the law, and it was a very good thing because the court declared that basically the Secretary of State can't just put into this election manual whatever she prefers and be the legislature in that sense. I mean, you have to follow election law, and those were a lot of the challenges in the post-2020 election, was that the election officials didn't follow state law, and so now ahead of 2024, ahead of the election, which is very important, the RNC and even the DNC, I mean, everybody is arguing over the law around elections, and it should not be partisan, is really the issue here. And so this judge just simply followed the law and said, no, Secretary of State, you can't just write into your election manual and tell the election officials who administer the law whatever you prefer that violates the law and the Constitution. So this particular issue was around the initial presumption, quote unquote, of validity of signature verification. Signature verification on mail-in ballots and absentee ballot applications, envelopes have to follow state law, and the Secretary of State in Michigan wanted an initial presumption of validity rather than actually checking those signatures in the manner that the state legislature has set forth. So the concern here, of course, is that if the Democrats decide to appeal this judge's ruling, it could land in the Michigan Supreme Court, which is controlled by Democrats, and there may be a political ruling. So we need to pray that all judges involved in all election integrity decisions heading into November would follow the law and not just manufacture their own policy to give preference to Democrats or Republicans. I mean, we as conservatives should want to conserve our rule of law and have a fair process that citizens only should vote. And as Cleta Mitchell wisely always says, to make voting more fair and to make it easier to vote but harder to cheat.
Well, so what is the argument that I'm always shocked at the controversy over these kinds of issues. What do Democrats argue when it comes to just simply trying to prevent cheating, and what's a good answer to what they're arguing?
They, by and large, they argue that this is disenfranchising some voters, that if you don't have, for instance, in this case, the initial presumption of validity in signatures, then you are disenfranchising voters that don't meet that threshold. And it's all about, voter disenfranchisement. We want everyone to vote. And that becomes their argument. But the problem with that argument, and where we need to respond, is to say, well, there is law surrounding voting, just like there's law surrounding a lot of other things. If you want to exercise your privilege in this country and your constitutionally protected right to vote as an American citizen, you have to follow the law. I mean, I moved to the state of Florida. I'm a resident here. I can vote here in the state of Florida, but I can't vote now back in my home state of Colorado. That is okay. If I decided to go and vote in an election in Colorado, that would be against the law. That's not disenfranchising me. That is simply requiring that I follow the law, that I vote in my state of residency. And so the Democrats want to say that conservatives are trying to narrow the vote and we're making it too hard and we're disenfranchising a bunch of people. But all we're doing is standing up for the rule of law and saying that there should be reasonable laws in place to prevent people who should not be voting in elections from voting.
Jenna, I'm not sure if you saw the story, the decision out of the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Yes, I did.
Keeping the ban in place on mobile absentee voting sites. This is the kind of thing, when Joe Biden did his little speech on Juneteenth last week, it was all...
And his dancing.
Yeah, and his dancing. Yeah, right.
Or not dancing.
But in his speech, he talked about, there's groups out there that want to keep you from voting, want to interfere with your right to vote. Well, here's what's really going on. and this Wisconsin Supreme Court pointed to, and I want you to get a picture in your mind, folks, if you're listening right now, of those food trucks that you see in
Yeah, I'm
communities.
looking at the picture. It looks like a taco truck.
It looks like a taco truck. All right, this story is out of Racine, Wisconsin, all right? So Racine, Wisconsin, back a couple of years ago for the municipal election, they purchased with grant money the city received from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. And you say, what's that? Well, it's a nonprofit funded by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife.
Zuckerbucks.
So they used Zuckerbucks to purchase this van. But here was the problem. This was all controlled by Democrats. And they sent this van to get absentee ballots into communities, surprise, surprise, where they knew the bulk of the people were Democrats.
Right.
In other words, to ensure, and we're not sure about the legitimacy of the absentee ballots in question, but they went into they didn't go into Republican neighborhoods, they went into Democrat neighborhoods to do it. And so fortunately, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, at least for now, has put a ban on the use of these mobile absentee voting sites.
What's your feeling on this, Jenna?
I think this is a good decision, and it's not because, sometimes Democrats are more organized than Republicans in some of these very creative solutions. The problem here is that a mobile voting site that is run by a private organization is not the purpose for which absentee balloting was originally designed. It was for some people who are overseas in the military, people who can't, because of health reasons, get to an actual ballot box. And to have these mobile sites creates a lot of problems. And it's basically a giant ballot harvesting operation. And conservatives have always suggested that, we need to combat ballot harvesting when the entire design is to just go and basically hand people that are likely to vote for a certain political party preference and say, hey, fill this out, I'll turn it in for you. And it becomes activism rather than the citizens' participation in voting. And so while there is ballot harvesting where it is legal, Republicans should mobilize better. And if, these types of vans ultimately became legal, then I would say Republicans should consider doing the same, right? And the overall point is that we have to have rules that are set so that there aren't these massive operations to just try to not turn out the vote and persuade voters to come to a ballot box, but actually go and almost signature gather and do all of these things that affect the outcome when that's not the purpose that absentee ballot was designed for.
My problem with ballot harvesting, listen, I know you're an actual attorney, but I have watched Law and Order and Blue Bloods. And listen, one of the cardinal rules of prosecution is evidence has to have a certain chain of custody in order to be valid. Okay, you can't have evidence for a crime sitting out in the break room where someone can contaminate it. And to me, it seems like if our elections are going to have the legitimacy they deserve, it seems to me that there should be a chain of custody for all ballots, that chain of custody is in the hands of people who are, by law, allowed to handle those ballots. But you have a taco truck going into a neighborhood, how do we know if all these ballots, and maybe there's not widespread cheating, but it does.
But we don't know.
But
that's
we don't
the point.
know.
And that is an excellent point, that chain of custody is yet another issue implicit in this whole thing.
I'm not just another pretty face who kills rabbits. I come up sometimes with some good stuff.
Yes, you do.
All right, Jenna.
Give that man a taco truck.
Yes,
that's right.
Give him a taco truck. Thanks for being on with us, Jenna.
Thanks so much, guys.
That's Jenna Ellis, host of Jenna Ellis in the Morning, heard on AFR. You can hear her tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. All right, folks, we're going to take a 5-minute break for news. Fred's leaving here. He's going to go get some hot dogs while Wesley and I and Ray hold down the fort. You want to come back and hear what we have to say, we hope.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
So I found a dress for the party. Awesome. Not really. I went to try it on, but Emma, there was a man in there. A man? I told customer service, but they said it's our policy. What?
Target allows men into women's restrooms and changing areas. The American Family Association is calling for a boycott of Target until they reverse this misguided policy. Sign the pledge at afa.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The Supreme Court has preserved access to a key abortion pill. Tanya J. Powers has more.
The unanimous decision to preserve access to the drug mifepristone is the first abortion decision by the Supreme Court since Roe v. Wade was overturned almost 2 years ago. The justices ruled that abortion opponents lacked the legal right to sue over the FDA's approval of that medication. That approval was granted by the FDA almost a quarter century ago. The case had threatened to restrict access to the drug even in states where abortion is still legal. Mifepristone is part of a 2-drug regimen along with misoprostol, which has been used to end a pregnancy through 10 weeks of gestation. Medication abortion remains illegal in the 14 states that have near-total abortion bans. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Federal Aviation Administration Administrator Michael Whitaker testified on Capitol Hill today before the Senate Commerce Committee. The hearing is examining the FAA's oversight of the manufacturing process and production quality of Boeing aircraft. This comes as Boeing has come under major scrutiny in recent months after a door plug blew out from an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX plane in January, and as whistleblowers claim the company has taken shortcuts to produce planes more quickly. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz.
I was very glad to see that the FAA took swift action to ground the 737 MAX after the accident. However, I remain concerned that the FAA's oversight of Boeing failed to spot serious production gaps.
Former President Donald Trump is now on Capitol Hill in a closed-door meeting with a who's who of Republican lawmakers in Congress. Aisha Hosni breaks down some of the topics discussed.
I'm getting some intel from inside this meeting, some text messages coming to me from lawmakers who are listening in right now. And apparently, President Trump is complaining about his legal cases, his legal issues, complaining about President Biden, saying that none of these foreign policy issues, these wars would have happened under his watch. He also apparently called the president, quote, a dope, and said that he didn't know how to get off stage. And he also said something like, hello, Marjorie, pointing to Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, and asked, are you being nice to him? And then pointed to Speaker Johnson, obviously, that being a reference to the motion to vacate that she filed.
The Southern Baptist Convention, meeting in Indianapolis, passed a resolution discouraging in vitro fertilization as a method to help infertile couples. Steve Jordahl is there with this report.
The resolution recognizes the pain for couples who struggle to get pregnant. Southern Baptist families struggle with infertility like everyone else. SBC Resolution Committee Advisor Jason Thacker says they tried to make the resolution as thoughtful as possible.
This is a deeply personal issue. Infertility is a widespread issue. 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 couples deal with that. And so that's one of the reasons that this committee wanted to speak with a pastoral tone, a careful tone.
But he says there are grave ethical concerns with essentially making human beings commodities to be bought and sold.
The freezing process, the cryogenic process, many of the abnormalities, some of the genetic testing, some of the experimentation, also the overabundance or the overgeneration of human embryos.
Thacker says pro-lifers are especially troubled by the number of human embryos that are generated for each patient.
Having these embryos generated, especially the abundance of, often with no plan to implant those, is something that we see is especially morally pertinent to this conversation.
Committee Chair Christian Ferguson says the resolution was the first pass at this difficult issue.
It was our goal to open the conversation for the messengers and allow them to begin to make statements.
At the Southern Baptist Convention in Indianapolis, I'm Steve Jordahl.
Most U.S. stocks are falling, following mixed data on the economy, but hopes for coming cuts to interest rates and Wall Street's continued frenzy around artificial intelligence technology is keeping indexes near their records. The S&P 500 slipped 0.1%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 257 points, while the Nasdaq Composite added 0.3% to its own all-time high. More news available online at afn.net or download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty P.
Transgenderism, critical race theory, and evolution. Is your child or grandchild ready to face these and other issues on campus? Hi, I'm Kirby Anderson with Probe Ministries and Point of View. You know, many Christians leave the church after they graduate, but they don't have to graduate from God. That's why we have the Mind Games Camp this year, June 16 to 22nd, a week of presentations, role play, as well as fun at camp. Sign up today at probe.org and help them meet these challenges to their faith.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Ed Vitagliano.
And welcome back to Today's Issues. Ed Vitagliano sitting in for Tim Wildman this week, joined in studio by Wesley Wildman and Chris Woodward. Chris, good morning. We will get to you in just a second. But Ray Pritchard, Dr. Ray Pritchard joins us from Kansas City. Ray, tell our listeners about Keep Believing, the ministry that I guess you're like president, director.
All the above.
All the above?
Something like that.
Tell our folks about Keep Believing.
Look, come see us at keepbelieving.com. I want to mention two things. We're in the second year of reading through the Bible, and right now today, Ed, we are in everybody's favorite passage, 1 Chronicles 6 through 9.
Oh, yeah.
The unending list of names that nobody can pronounce. So if you want to hear me take a shot at all of those unpronounceable names
now
from the Hebrew.
What we're doing right there.
Well, and Wesley, that video is on the front page of our website. So
all right.
You just
I
click on it.
I like it.
And you know,
how did you do that? How did you do that? Did you practice these names ahead of time, or?
Look,
did you just wing it, like Chris said?
Look, 1 Chronicles 1 through 9 basically is all genealogy, right?
Yeah.
And almost all unpronounceable. So my theory is say it loud, say it fast, and keep on moving.
But I happened to Google it real quick. There's one guy in 1 Chronicles 5, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm taking a stab at this, America, Tilgath-Pilneser.
Pretty close.
That's an Assyrian king, isn't it? Tiglath-Pileser?
Didn't he used to play for the Celtics?
Yeah. Now, my favorite name in the Bible, though, Maher-Shalal-Hashbaz.
Oh, that's in the book of Isaiah.
That's what you say when you sneeze. Maher-Shalal-Hashbaz.
So if you want to hear me take my shot at these unpronounceable names, it's free. The video's up there. And so we're just, we were in the Gospel of John, which everybody knows. Then we hop back to 1 Chronicles. It's another whole story when you hit 1 Chronicles.
But you last year read through the whole Bible, video-wise.
Right.
There's also an audio. I've listened to the audio on Spotify.
Right.
Where you read the Bible chapters, and it's wonderful.
And you don't have to listen to 1 Chronicles if you don't want to.
Right.
Because now we got the whole Bible on there. So if it's James or Philippians, you can listen to that. The other thing is, we've talked about the fact that I've been going through this cancer treatment. Well, I wrote a message that became a booklet that's brand new called When Cancer Slows You Down. When cancer slows you, it's the answer to the question, Ray, what has God taught you through all of this? And by the way, I'm nearing the end. Thanks be to God. And
of your treatments.
Of my treatment. Let's clarify. Let's clarify.
On this topic, that deserves clarification.
That's on this topic. That's right. I'm nearing the end of my treatment. About my life, that's all in God's hands, right?
Amen. And that's true about all of us.
True of all of us, right?
Somebody on this show once said, maybe it was me and Tim pointed it out, but I think I said, or someone did, he went home or something like that. And Tim was like, let's clarify.
That sounds like a Tim thing. So, Ray, what you're saying is that, like in a lot of churches where people pick the passages they want to hear and skip the hard stuff, they can technically do that on your website.
Do that on the website,
or they can go through the whole Bible.
That's right. And the booklet, When Cancer Slows You Down, it's at the top of the front page, and you can download the PDF, and it's all free. You can order print copies of it, too. So anyway, come see us at keepbelieving.com.
All right. Okay, Chris. Good morning / good afternoon to you.
Yes. I have a story that is fresh off the press, if that's the word to use here, from Daily Signal, which is the news outlet for the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. They are taking joy in what I'm about to read. It says, quote, the far-left smear factory, the Southern Poverty Law Center, reportedly terminated a quarter of its staff yesterday, weakening and perhaps eliminating 2 of its departments amid a restructure that heavily hit its union members. The SPLC gutted its staff by a quarter, the organization's union posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. I bring this up because if you have listened to this program at any point in the last, 10 years, you have heard us do stories about the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization headquartered in Alabama that a long time ago did great things for the civil rights movement. But in more recent years, they have taken aim at various groups and just started labeling anybody that spoke out against traditional values as a, quote, hate group. One of those groups has been American Family Association. They have also taken issue with Family Research Council, another ministry that we partner with on a regular basis. So I bring this up because the SPLC, the group that has labeled us a hate group, and others, wrongfully, I should say, has been having to cut people due to things involving this economy.
Well, Wesley,
while they have $500 million in their offshore accounts.
Yes. In fact, I think they got
$500 million, or
it's a lot. It's a lot. Last time I saw it was in the 300 millions, and I think they actually had their charitable status degraded here recently because they're basically sitting on all this money rather than spending it.
Yeah, I got the story right here. An organization with nearly $1 billion in reserves were given an F rating by Charity Watch for, in quotes, because this is a direct quote, hoarding donations.
Yeah,
and then rather than spending it, while they also gutted its staff by a quarter, 100 people.
Yeah, if they release, listen, we never rejoice when people lose their jobs, okay, folks? We're talking about the fact that SPLC is getting a little bit of what they deserve here.
Sure.
But if this was laying off people because of the economy, they should have been dipping into those funds at least,
right,
to pay their staff. But this is an organization that claims that hate is spiraling out of control.
That's right.
But yet they are hoarding money.
Yep.
You'd think your dad makes this point, and it's a good one. If hate is really going through the roof and exploding around the country like they claim, why aren't they spending all this money to combat
on ads?
Yeah, on ads.
Yeah, you got ads and speaking engagements. There's all kind of things that they could spend their money on.
Right.
Maybe a whole new some radio stations.
Yeah.
A TV program.
Right.
All types of things they could be spending their money on. They're not the only ones though, but they're an example of several nonprofits like BLM. They have similar situations where they have all this money,
right,
and they're caught misusing it, misspending it, and hoarding it, not using it. So,
all right, well, you started off with a little bit of good news.
Yes.
SPLC having some troubles.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's go to Florida now. I've got several clips here from Governor Ron DeSantis, and I don't have the audio of the reporter asking this question because the reporter was not wearing a mic. You couldn't really make out what he had to say. You could make it out if you were to watch it yourself, but I couldn't play it and have it make sense over the radio.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
You can just tell what he.
So
asked.
in this audio, Governor DeSantis is responding to a question this week from a reporter. The reporter asked, quote, "Your office told us that you plan to appeal the gender affirmation ruling from yesterday. So my question today, since we're talking about the budget of taxpayer dollars, why should taxpayer dollars go to this case for this appeal?" Clip 11.
Because it's wrong to mutilate minors. It is wrong. It is wrong to perform a sex change on a 16-year-old. You're not allowed to get a tattoo, but somehow you can have your privates cut off. Give me a break. This is wrong. And I would also say this has already been decided by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. They upheld Alabama's law, which was almost identical to Florida's law. This will be reversed. There's no question it'll be reversed.
Now, I have more, but we can stop there and get your take.
Look, Ray, I'm just going to say I come into work every day. I love the people I work with. I love serving God here. This is a ministry that God has raised up. But I will be honest, there are days I come in and I think, I can't believe we're having to fight this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we're having to fight. There's a reporter who's trying to ask a gotcha question of the governor. You're going to spend tax dollars to go to court and fight this judge's ruling. And Governor DeSantis' answer is absolutely spot on. This is not only wrong, but it's bizarre that adults are supporting quote-unquote medical practices that are permanently disfiguring children and young teens. But here we are.
Look, huge shout out to Governor DeSantis, because when that gotcha question was asked, what was his answer, Ed? Because it's wrong. Talk about moral clarity. Oh, I wish we had 1,000 other leaders like that on the conservative side in places, in high places, because he's exactly right. That is the basis of the answer, because it's wrong. And anybody with half a grain of common sense knows you don't perform this gender reassignment surgery on young kids. And he said 16 years old. He's exactly right. It shouldn't be done. It's illegal. And God bless Governor DeSantis, because they're going to win. Florida is going to win this, no question.
Now, in some of the other clips here from Governor DeSantis, he went on to, after the exchange we just heard, he went on to talk about the Constitution and Founding Fathers and law. Clip 12.
The Founding Fathers were creating the Constitution, and when the first Congress passed the Bill of Rights, or even when they passed the Reconstruction Amendments in the 1860s, do you think a single person involved in that thought that there was a constitutional right to do this genital mutilation? It's ridiculous. Of course a state can protect children against this, and we had very powerful testimony how this is irreversible.
Now, that is why it's important that you get the proper people elected who will appoint judges that will interpret laws as they were originally intended. Case in point, we have this battle now where the Biden administration wants to just redefine the word sex in Title IX from 50-plus years ago, knowing full well nobody in the 1970s was talking about sexual identity and all this other stuff that the Biden administration wants us to pretend they were talking about 52 years ago.
Yeah.
So that same argument there has been made that, of course, they didn't mean sexual orientation and gender identity in the 1970s, talking about Title IX.
You know, Wesley, it's strange that the current interpretation from the Biden administration of a law passed to protect actual women is being twisted to allow men to take away the rights of women and their spots on whether it's swim teams or other kinds of sports. It's really bizarre how all that has gotten turned around.
Yeah, listening to the clip here with Ron DeSantis reminds us that we need more people in politics like him with moral clarity and being able to articulate the issues in a simple way. He does a phenomenal job with that. So whoever is coaching him or has coached him, we need more of that coaching going on in the GOP for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of Title IX issues in men and women's sports, we had this big update yesterday involving Will Thomas. Now, Will says, and has said for several years, that he is a woman and he wants to go by the name Leah. We still call him Will. And Will failed yesterday in a legal challenge to rules that bar him from participating in what is being described as elite women's races. A lot of people are saying that this ruling resulted in his Olympics dream being crushed. Someone that is very happy to see this is someone that had to swim against Will. She lost to him at least a few times. And that swimmer is Riley Gaines, obviously a household name, former University of Kentucky swimmer. Now she works for groups like Independent Women's Forum, Leadership Institute. And this clip here has a little bit of music underneath it because it was on Fox News during a very news brief segment this morning. But here now is Riley Gaines responding to yesterday's ruling against Will Thomas. Clip 10.
I cannot believe we have to have a court ruling to know that it's unfair for men to compete in women's sports. That's like having a judge ruling that the sun sets in the west. This is a victory. This is a victory for women and girls everywhere. No one is banning Thomas from competing in the Olympics, He has every opportunity, and I actually encourage him to compete, or at least try to compete in his rightful category, that being the men's category.
We also spoke yesterday with former University of Kentucky swimmer Caitlin Wheeler. She was a teammate of Riley Gaines, who, much like Riley, was very glad with yesterday's ruling.
Where was this ruling? What level was this?
It was the Court of Arbitration for Sports panel of 3 judges that was involved with the World Aquatics governing body.
Okay.
So it's not like the Fifth Circuit or U.S. Supreme Court or something like that.
So this is a court that athletes can access with regards to questions about the Olympics?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I will say that ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom, is one of the many law firms out there going to bat, no sports pun intended, for athletes, female athletes that are upset with having to compete against males. So there are still issues playing out in the U.S. court system over this very issue of males and female
Does
sports.
that cover all sports or just swimming?
It covers, well, this is the World Aquatics governing body, so it would be swimming.
The reason I ask is because we've also covered stories where men are trying to pretend to be a woman and compete in like weightlifting.
Right.
And volleyball. We've seen some of
basketball.
that. Yeah.
Odds are when you watch the Olympics, the Summer Olympics this year, if you choose to, I think it's on Peacock, NBC. It's been on there forever and probably will be until the Lord returns. But if you do watch the Summer Olympics this year in Paris, you're probably going to see a dude competing against women in something, because this is one sport of many in the Olympics.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I have one thing here I wanted to set aside time to mention. And this is not a new topic, but I do have some numbers to go over. The National Retail Federation, which is the lobbying arm of retail, the voice of retail, they like to call themselves, put out a projection. How much do you think they say Americans are going to spend on Father's Day this year? We're talking about Americans as a whole across the country.
Not enough.
I'm with Ray.
I'm with Ray too.
I have no idea, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
I don't have a number to go off of, but what the point that you're getting to is going to be. Go ahead.
Well,
I don't want to give your story away.
According to the National Retail
we know
Federation,
where this is going.
Father's Day spending is expected to reach $22.4 billion with a B this year. Now that's
22.4.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good number.
Amen.
I like that.
It is.
So continue on with the story.
Preach.
The bad news is, Mom got a lot more. Any guesses as to how much Mom's
having the
got
context
back
of the
in May?
24 billion?
I'm going to say 3 times as much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not that much, but it's around $34 billion on
That's
Mother's
actually
Day.
closer than
That's
I thought.
closer than I would have expected.
That's closer than I would have thought.
Yeah.
22 compared to 34 billion?
Yes.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
As a dad,
I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take whatever we can get.
Well,
I thought it would be just a lot higher
Yeah.
for moms.
Now,
and I don't have a complaint with that.
That's
In
right.
fact, that's
We're
what dads.
happy.
That's what
We're
dads
happy
do.
with this.
Dads do. We take the blow
That's
for the
it.
family, and
That's right.
we take the
hit.
hardship. That's right.
Yes.
And we do it almost without complaining.
Almost.
Yeah.
I like how you
Almost.
caught
Almost.
yourself
That's
there.
right.
Right.
Almost.
One of the things, I'll post these links so our listeners can read it. I'll post the Father's Day and the Mother's Day stuff here in a moment. But one of the things I always like about these kinds of projections, they do a really in-depth analysis, all kinds of stuff. Well, what are you going to get your dad? And all these other things. Greeting cards remain the most popular Father's Day gifts. Okay. But when you go to like mom's getting jewelry, flowers, a meal out, all these kinds of awesome stuff here.
I'm just, now that I think of it, 22.4 billion. How much do ties cost nowadays?
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
They used to be really cheap.
Yeah.
Another popular gift for Mother's Day would probably be like a pedicure, manicure, or
See, I guess that may be part of it. Moms, there's a lot of different things you can do to make a mom happy.
That's right.
Flowers, jewelry, candy, whatever, like a
Yeah.
pedicure or something like that. What do you do for your dad?
that's a good question.
Now, when I was pastoring, we would have flowers for moms for Mother's Day.
Right.
And for Father's Day, you may laugh at this, we handed out tools. Screwdrivers or
For
whatever.
real.
Yes.
For real.
We need that Tim Allen from
What do you
there.
get for dads? A tie? But who wears ties nowadays?
I will tell you, I am
bank.
not the most handy man. I will appreciate a tool. I have several things that I've had to buy since we were blessed several years ago to be able to buy a home. So I've kind of acquired lawn tools, but I am that guy that has to look up 4 how-tos on how to use it.
Oh, yeah, you're YouTubing.
I need to go to Men of Honor to learn how to use
There
some
you
tools.
go,
Like,
yeah.
and I need to have Wesley, show me how to use this drill.
All those 8 and 9-year-old boys at Men of Honor looking over at Chris saying, "Who's the old dude?
Yeah.
Is he here to teach us, or is he? Why is he taking a turn with the power
funny thing
drill?"
is, some of those kids are taller than me, but yes.
Hey, he'll be the one that slips in the back on particular skill days.
Yes.
Okay, boomer.
Listen in.
Boomer. All right, what else?
I did have somebody call me that one time in a comment on an article that I had on AFN.net. They were like, "Okay, boomer," and I thought, "Wait a minute, what?" I'm like 5
you're
years
not
older.
technically a boomer, are you?
No,
Yeah, you're a millennial.
I am one of the oldest millennials. I am.
It's just a few days cut off on the millennial.
Yeah, really. I really think one of these days when I get time in a slow day, which we never have, I'm gonna prove that I was one of the first.
Yeah,
one of the first. All right, what else you got?
Well, this is a continuation of something I mentioned several days ago. For anybody not familiar with what I'm about to do, a couple of days ago, you can check out AFR.net for the podcast. We talked about how there was a couple in New York that did they went magnet fishing, and they found a safe with a bunch of cash. And come to find out, they were able to keep it because of some obscure gray area or whatever. So, in the spirit of random stuff on why we should all probably go dumpster diving and go to auctions and whatnot, CNN had this story. There was a vintage action figure. It was apparently very rare from the late 1970s. It was a Star Wars action figure of apparently a limited release Boba Fett action figure or whatnot. I don't want to say doll because it's an action figure,
not a doll.
But anyway, the rocket-firing Boba Fett action figure, modeled after the Star Wars bounty hunter, was purchased in Dallas by an anonymous buyer for $500,000.
Wow.
It dethroned Barbie. This is a Trivia Friday kind of story. It dethroned Barbie for the #1 spot she held since 2010 when a version of the iconic doll with a necklace of real diamonds sold at a Christie's auction for $302,500.
So a Boba Fett action figure topped a Barbie doll with with real diamond necklace?
Yes, and we don't know who bought the bounty hunter, so you can't go make friends with that person to try to make an offer.
Well,
you were going to go to that auction, weren't you?
Listen, I'm nerdy, but I'm not that nerdy.
Yeah.
Now, Ray, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who Boba Fett is?
I was about to ask the question. I'm way too old for this. I'm on the upper end of the baby boomers. I don't know who we're talking. I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, I will say this: some people may know what I'm talking about here. Others may not. Many people went years, if not decades, thinking Boba Fett died in Return of the Jedi. But, spoiler alert, he might not have. Let's put it that way. In one of the many spinoffs that I think Disney Plus does this, they actually continued that storyline somehow, some way, in a way I won't explain.
So he, in Return of the Jedi, okay, now, Ray, to answer your question, Boba Fett was a bounty hunter who appeared very briefly in the first Star Wars movie, or technically episode 4.
He was in Mos Eisley.
But he was such a cool-looking figure. They brought him back. He was a bounty hunter out in space a long, long time ago, Ray, in a galaxy far, far away. And in Return of the Jedi, he fell into this huge worm's mouth in the ground. So he apparently got out of there.
Yeah, and then
we're in y'all's zone.
Yes,
we're in your lane.
We're in nerd country right now.
Nerd country,
and Ray and Wesley don't have a map.
Do or do not.
I'm looking everything up. Y'all have to slow down. I'm having to look it up play by play. Okay, now I know.
See, that's cool. That's a cool look at.
I'm looking at Boba Fett now, and I knew of Boba Fett. I didn't know Boba Fett's name because I'm not as familiar with Star Wars as y'all are.
You just look up Ray, BOBA.
F-E-T-T.
F-E-T-T.
I'm still stuck on that burning rabbit.
Yes.
One thing's real, and the other is make-believe. All right, folks. We had a little fun there at the end. For all you Star Wars fans, you got your Boba Fett fix.
Yep.
All right. We're done for today. Trivia Friday is tomorrow, but you know what? More great programming directly ahead on American Family Radio. We're going to go get hot dogs.
Yes, cookout.
And my father, your great-grandfather, fought in World War II.
Really?
He was a gunner.